This is my story, a real journey from Pakistan to the beautiful land of Kashmir with my two best friends, Saqib and Awais Noori. It was more than just a trip. It was a story of friendship, adventure, and discovery. And through this story, you'll not only travel with us, but also learn real English, the kind that connects you with real life. So imagine you're sitting beside us, feeling the wind, hearing the laughter, and joining us on this unforgettable road trip. It was a fresh morning in Islamabad. The sky was soft blue, and the first rays of the sun touched the city gently. I stood outside my house with a small backpack and a big smile on my face. I was ready for an adventure. Soon, my phone buzzed. It was Saqib. "Bro, we're coming," he said with his usual excitement. A few minutes later, I saw their car turning the corner. Awais was driving, wearing sunglasses even though the sun wasn't strong yet. That's just how he was cool and confident. We loaded our bags, checked the route one last time, and started our journey. The car moved forward, and with every mile our excitement grew stronger. Music played softly in the background, and our laughter filled the air. The city slowly disappeared behind us, replaced by open roads and tall green trees. As we left Islamabad, the real beauty began. The green hills started to rise around us, and the air turned cooler. We rolled down the windows to feel the wind on our faces. After a few hours, we stopped at a small roadside tea stall. The smell of fresh chai and parathas made us hungry immediately. An old man stood behind the stall, smiling warmly. "Where are you boys heading?" he asked kindly. "To Kashmir," I replied proudly. "Ah, Kashmir," he said, his eyes shining. "Heaven on earth. Drive carefully, and don't forget to stop and enjoy the views." We thanked him, drank our hot tea, and continued our journey. Those simple words stayed in my heart. Don't forget to enjoy the views. The road became narrower and began to twist through the hills. On one side were tall trees, and on the other side were deep valleys. Awais drove carefully, while Saqib sat in the back seat recording videos on his phone. Every few minutes we would stop just to take pictures or breathe in the mountain air. At one viewpoint, we saw clouds floating so low that it felt like we could touch them. We stood there quietly for a few seconds. Then Saqib said, This is what real peace looks like." And he was right. A few hours later, we reached a small bridge with a river flowing underneath. The water was crystal clear, and the sound of it hitting the rocks was music to our ears. We decided to take a few photos. While posing for the camera, Awais tried to climb a small rock near the river, but slipped. Luckily, he didn't fall, but his shoe got wet, and we couldn't stop laughing. He shouted, "Stop laughing, yar, help me instead." But of course, we laughed even harder. That funny moment became one of the highlights of our trip. As we entered the Kashmir region, small wooden houses appeared along the road. Children played outside, and the people looked happy and peaceful. We stopped at a village to try local food. A kind woman served us rice, chicken curry, and fresh yogurt. It was simple, but delicious. While eating, we started talking to a local man. He told us stories about life in the valley, how they wait for snow every winter, how they celebrate weddings, and how time feels slower there. He spoke in simple English, but his words carried warmth and wisdom. That conversation reminded me that language is not about perfect grammar. It's about connection. When the sun began to set, we found a small guest house surrounded by pine trees. It was quiet and peaceful, no traffic, no noise, just nature. We sat outside with cups of tea, watching the sun disappear behind the mountains. The sky turned golden, then purple, then dark blue filled with stars. Saqib looked up and said, Moments like this never come twice." Awais nodded. "Yeah, sometimes silence speaks louder than words." That night, we talked about everything life, dreams, and how lucky we were to experience this together. It felt like time had stopped just for us. The next morning was magical. When I opened the window, I saw fog floating between the trees. Birds were singing, and everything smelled fresh. We had breakfast eggs, bread, and hot tea, and decided to hike to a nearby waterfall. The path was full of surprises, narrow trails, singing birds, and small streams crossing our way. After an hour of walking, we finally reached the waterfall. It was breathtaking. The water fell from a great height, shining under the sunlight like diamonds. We stood there, speechless, taking in the beauty of nature. It felt like we were standing inside a dream. After 2 amazing days in Kashmir, it was time to go back. None of us wanted to leave, but the journey had to end. The car was quiet this time. No loud music, just the sound of the road and our thoughts. Saqib said softly, "Bro, we should do this every year?" I smiled. "Yes. But even if we don't, this one trip is enough to remember for a lifetime." As we drove down the hills, I looked outside and thought about how much I had learned, not just about places, but about people, about friendship, and about life itself. When I came back home, I wasn't the same person who had left. That journey gave me peace, memories, and new words to express my feelings. It taught me that learning, whether it's English or life, becomes easy when it's connected to real experiences. So, my friends, whenever you travel, don't just see places. Talk to people. Listen to their stories. Feel the world. Because every journey can teach you something if your heart is open. And that's what Real English Stories is all about, learning English through real stories, real emotions, and real adventures.